Look, you guys, when it comes to life, there are a lot of uncertainties. But if there's one thing that is certain, is that death is inevitable. And today we're going to be talking a lot about death, because we're going to be looking at the Final Destination franchise and ranking it from worst to best. Now, the Final Destination franchise was a horror franchise that kick-started in the year 2000, in which pretty much you just follow a group of people who cheat death. Death is unhappy and then comes back for them to hack vengeance and give them a more glorified, gory death. Now, when it comes to the Final Destination franchise, there's not a huge discrepancy in terms of quality, in my opinion. So I think my list is going to look a lot different than yours list. So please let me know in the comment section below. So let's get on to the list. So starting my list off at number 5, I have The Final Destination, which was ultimately Final Destination 4. This is the one that took place at a racetrack, where we had this racetrack sequence where the car goes off the track and then people are dying in explosions. It's so over the top. It's unbelievable. And honestly, this is probably the most cringiest, laughable, but also somehow dull and boring installment in the entire franchise. This also came out when 3D was really booming, and they tried to go full-blown 80s with the 3D and having so much just tossed at you at the big screen. It was hokey and silly and ridiculous. The kills in this movie are not memorable at all, in my opinion. I do somewhat like the escalator sequence and the car wash sequence, but ultimately this one didn't really build the anxiety that I felt like this franchise was so good at providing. So from this point on, I love the rest of this franchise with all my heart. So there's not a massive gap in between my love for the rest of these films. And at number 4, I have Final Destination 2. I love this movie. One, it gives, in my opinion, one of the best horror set pieces maybe ever with this car crash sequence. It is impeccable. It is terrifying. It built so much anxiety in so many people. Even today, when I'm on the highway and if I see a log truck, honey, I'm swerving to the other side of the lane. I am not driving behind it. My only reason why I have this one ranked a little bit lower is because, well, one, none of the characters really know each other. They kind of go off on their separate ways, and they only a few of them really mingle and connect, and there's no real desire to want to help each other out. So a lot of the characters ultimately just feel disposable from the get-go, and I just don't, that just doesn't hold up on multiple rewatches for me. Also, I love Ali Larter. I love her. I will watch almost anything that has her in it. And I felt like they didn't do her character justice, bringing her back from the first film. But ultimately, there are some fantastic kills in this movie. I love the dentist one. I absolutely love the barbed wire one. That one's probably my favorite. And the elevator one, yes. Coming in at number 3, I have the original Final Destination. I know, this one is a lot of you guys' also favorite one. And let me explain. I think this one is fantastic for how it sets up the mythology, how death works. I think this one does have the best cast out of all of the films. I think they're the most competent in terms of actors. I like the style. I love the pacing of it. I just think when it comes to the overall franchise, and now how this franchise has built, a habit of just people showing up just to watch people die in gruesome ways, kind of in that torture porn-esque. This one has some of the weaker deaths, in my opinion. There's just not the level of intensity that the franchise would soon merit. And that's not a bad thing. I think the plane crash sequence is brilliant. It holds up fantastically well. And any time that I get on a plane, I ultimately always think Final Destination, and I'm always getting on aircrafts. Coming in at number 2, ladies and gentlemen, is Final Destination 3. In my opinion, this one is so much freaking fun. In fact, this was also one of the very first horror films I ever saw in the theaters. It wasn't the first, but I was very, very early into my loving horror film stage. So this one has a lot of nostalgia to me. Also, I love Mary Elizabeth Winstead. I thought her character was fantastic in this movie. She's a great lead. She's got so much heart that she's one of the few horror characters in this entire franchise that I really rooted for and did not want to see die in any sort of way. So anytime she was in peril, I felt that peril. Also, I think the roller coaster sequence, while it is completely over the top in the best way possible. And of course, we've come to the end of the line. My favorite film in the Final Destination franchise is Final Destination 5. This, in my opinion, is a textbook example of how to do tension. This movie is terrifying, and the bridge collapse sequence is a masterpiece. This also gives, in my humble opinion, my favorite kill in the entire franchise, which is the gymnastic one. That is tension 101. Also, this franchise didn't need this at all, but this movie gives a plot twist that, one, I shockingly did not see coming, and two, actually added a lot of weight to this film. And I don't want to spoil that if you haven't seen it, but it connects all these films in such a smart, genius way that if this is the final installment, I'm satisfied. Like, we don't need another Final Destination film because this one felt so complete and fulfilling to me. So you guys, there you have it. That was my ranking of the Final Destination film. Make sure to let me know in the comment section below what your ranking is of these films. I have a feeling your list is going to look a lot different than mine. So until next time, I'm the Slasher Movier, and you guys have just been slashed.